friends, and thank you for tuning in to the Optimal Health Program today. I hope you're all doing well. A lot of great information to talk about today. Some really horrible statistics about diabetes. And I've been tracking this for a long time as we talk about this with patients almost every day about what to eat, what not to eat, exercise, low carb. But diabetes statistics are horrendous. So we're going to do a nice talk about diabetes statistics, what we do to treat it, reverse it. We have a couple of great videos on 2 diabetics that were reversed in about 2.5 months from doing low-carb diet, exercise, correcting vitamins, minerals, hormones, and stem cell therapy. So very important to do. We'll be taking your questions and calls. The phone number here, 888-420-9272 if you'd like to call, or just directly hit us up on any of our platforms. I want to make a crazy announcement where we're always looking to try to do better and, bigger. And last Saturday on LFA, on Rumble, we hit our biggest mark yet, 180,000 views last Saturday. So we're really excited about that. And now we want to break 200,000. So if you can tell your friends and family members, anybody who you think might be interested in listening to the program, we'd love for you to do that. Please take a look at our Instagram, YouTube, sign up for that. Subscribe or follow. We'd love for you to do that. And just get all the good word out there. Many people think of medicine in a negative way because of what they've experienced over many years. And a lot of that, regrettably, is true. Doctors aren't giving you enough information, not telling you to read and to learn and to go and do. And they don't get you involved in getting yourself healthy, which you really have to do. A good doctor has to do that, and that's something I've done for all these years. But this is a different mechanism, a different approach. We're not looking to throw you on meds and load you up with meds. We're looking to change and maximize and optimize your health. So that's why everything that I do is done in a scientific fashion with creating better health going forward. So we'd love for you to tell everybody.
And let me just add to our Rumble audience that are watching us on LFA TV. We're always on LFA TV on Saturdays, but if you want to catch us on Monday or Friday, follow our Rumble channel, the Optimal Health Program, and you'll find us awesome. Mondays and Fridays.
They've put us on the front page too. So on Saturdays at 2:30, when we're on, I believe we're in that big video box right front and center, square looking at you in the face.
Right there. You might be watching us right now.
Which is pretty awesome.
From there.
So we love that. They've done a wonderful job for us. So we love Rumble and LFA. They've been very, very kind. So yeah, good word. Get that up and about so people can hear about it. Website, drcalapai.com. If you'd like to take a look at the website, look at videos of patients that we've worked with. Garden City office is 516-794-0404. You can call and speak to the staff. On a little side note, people that have a lot of different medical concerns call and they'll ask our receptionist a ton of medical questions, which our receptionists are not doctors, physicians, PAs, or nurse pracs, so they really can't answer your medical questions. So we guide you into either making a telehealth visit with me or an in-office visit with me so I could take your history, examine you, and look at the entire picture. And in many cases, I can't give you an absolute answer on your question until either you bring me blood work or we see what your new blood work shows. So we just beg your patience, to be able to give you information to be able to help you out. So although the staff is wonderful at taking your calls, they can't really answer medical questions, especially, before you become a patient. So thank you so much for your emails as well. We get a ton of them. We answer them every day, so we're constantly doing that. And let's get started. Diabetes is a devastating disease, and everyone knows someone who's diabetic, and everyone likely has a family member who's diabetic. So these are the latest studies from worldwide global prevalence of diabetes. I remember a few years ago when I was looking at this and put this into a little bit of a small video for the website and for News 12, we were talking about predictions of diabetes going over 500 million. And this was not a long time ago. Yet now, what we're seeing is over 853 million people, adults, 20 to 79 years are diabetic, up from 589 million in 2023. That's massive. That's a crazy number. And it's not talking about those that are below the 20-year age group and maybe those that are over 79. So these numbers are completely out of control. Type 1 diabetes is projected to increase 9 million to 9 million people globally. Type 2, 844 million. Age distribution between 45 to 64 age group. Yet I see a lot of younger people becoming type 2 diabetic. That never happened 20, 30 years ago, so we're seeing a great increase in that. In the U.S., the number of adults with diabetes is 37.3 million and climbing. And they're talking about 1.5 million, 2 million people, new diabetics every year. Crazy, crazy, crazy. The global cost of diabetes exceeds $1 trillion and 3.4 million deaths worldwide. So those are horrible statistics. I think that diabetes is a lot easier to treat when you look at every component of the disease and you try to improve every area where damage occurs. So the comprehensive medical nutritional approach, which is what I coined, my approach to patients is called, we're looking at every part of your picture. So for those who are diabetic, as we start to see what you're eating and we cut down your carbohydrates and we get rid of bread, pasta, potatoes, oatmeal, grains, rice, fruit, you can switch over to berries instead of the high sugar fruits. You're decreasing that intake of sugar. And yes, there are breads that are grain-free that are made from seeds and nuts. Typically, we give people handouts. I give them a low-carb handout. There's a one-page green sheet because we ran out of all the other colors that we use in the office for our blue sheet is a top sheet. We have a yellow sheet, another one for allergy. But the green sheet shows you all the foods you could use as substitutes. And you can get these things at Whole Foods and a variety of different stores so that you're having bread, but there's no grain in it. It's made from seeds and nuts. If you go on Amazon, there are a couple of companies that make grain-free bread, and one of them is Julian Bakery, Julian, and it's good bread. I've had it, and I order it. But it's better because it doesn't give you this massive sugar and carbohydrate exposure. For a lot of people that have yogurt, I typically tell them to get cashew milk yogurt, Forager Project. It's not from cow, so people that are allergic to milk don't have an issue with it. Put some berries in it. You can put a scoop of protein powder in it. And now you're having a smoothie, but there's really no sugar. It's a gram of carb. And that's a lot better than having a smoothie that's got bananas and all sorts of other things in it that are super high in terms of sugar. So there are better ways to do, what we're doing. Some people like to have chips and salsa. I love chips and salsa. I always have and I always will. But I'll use the grain-free chips, and you can get them from Siete, S-I-E-T-E. They're flavored. And I may have to bring that green sheet in here, maybe just put it up on the screen so people can see it. But there's so many options. Cauliflower rice, you can put it in a pan with garlic and olive oil and season it. You can put in tomatoes, peppers, pinoli nuts, Cajun seasoning. I like Cajun seasoning and spice. And you have a big meal, but there's no sugar in it. So there are great ways to do this. There are Viking protein waffles. There's monk fruit syrup where it tastes sweet, but you could make your own waffles and syrup and, not have any sugar. So there are great ways to keep your carbs down and kind of keep you in the realm of thinking that you're not, cheating yourself or starving yourself. So for a lot of people, we tell them stay away from those things, even that taste like sugar. You don't want to maintain that sugary effect. You could also take almond milk or any of the milks, mix it with a scoop or two of chia seeds, put in a scoop of the protein powder. Orgain is the one that I typically use. It's a plant protein, no sugar. And mix it up, put it in the fridge, and then after an hour or two, it's congealed, and it looks and tastes like oatmeal, but there's no sugar, and there's no grain. So there are ways to do this that make it a lot easier. So that's part of the comprehensive medical nutrition approach, low carb. Yes, you can have lots of vegetables. You can have chicken, turkey, fish, pork, lamb, lots of things, all the good proteins. Part two, second step, have to get people to exercise. So you could either pedal an exercise bike in your house, put on an old movie, watch your show, and just pedal for a half hour or an hour. You can ride your bike outside. You can walk around the block for a half hour to 45 minutes. Constant activity is what really gets your muscles to heat up and burn sugar and fat. So it's a brilliant way to dilate your blood vessels, which helps your blood pressure, allows you to flood oxygen and vitamins, minerals, and hormones into your cells, which has multiple benefits, enhances your endurance and stamina, will allow your body to be a little bit more flexible, and you're creating stamina and strength. So any type of exercise, yoga, Pilates, walking, indoor, outdoor bike, go to the gym, elliptical, anything, and you could change them around. Just do something every day for a half hour to 45 minutes. So low carb, exercise. Our big blood test will tell us all about your vitamins, minerals, and hormones. If your thyroid's low, we correct that, you'll burn sugar far better. If your DHEA or testosterone or IGF-1, the active component of growth hormone, is low, same picture. If your vitamin levels are low, you want those to be in great range because you need the vitamins as food for your cells. So that's another important part of the picture. And then the ultimate mechanism to get your pancreas to come alive again is to use your own stem cells and do an intravenous treatment where they get into your bloodstream and they'll go wherever there's damage or degeneration, much like your immune cells will go looking for infection and create a cascade to kill infection. Stem will go to where the damage, degeneration, or inflammation is, set up shop, and make brand new cells into that tissue, that organ. For your pancreas, you make brand new pancreatic cells that make insulin. So over the course of a few months, you start to see the blood sugar drop. And you can check your insulin C-peptide levels and see them coming up. So we start to wean medications when we start to see that. And you'll see in a couple of these videos, patients will have a pretty dramatic, benefit or outcome. Any questions?
Well, you answered a few of them, but one is just someone saying, I've always thought that diabetes is irreversible. Why have I been lied to?
Well, there's a lot that you've been told because doctors haven't gone beyond the approach of giving you a medication to treat something. There's an old saying that if the only tool you have is a hammer, then everything looks like the head of a nail. And if the only tool you have are medications, then it's just going to be medications, medications, medications. So a doctor could learn how to do the low-carb diet with you and explain it to you and tell you how to do exercise and fix these things. They just are in a whole different realm of thought. They think the medication has to do the work and that, you don't need to get involved maybe. I think patients have to get involved. You have to understand, what you're doing. I'll explain the meds and side effects to patients when they come in taking their meds. And we want to be able to get to that place where you're doing so well naturally and organically that we can wean you off the medications, and that's what we do. So many people have high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and then diabetes and all these other problems, weight gain, high blood. If you do this mechanism, then your body reverses the high sugar, burns down the cholesterol, triglycerides, LDL, weight comes down, blood pressure comes down, stamina increases. There are so many benefits. It's exactly what you need to do.
And then can someone reverse diabetes through physical activity alone without major diet changes?
No. I've never seen people reverse diabetes on their own. In years past, when I first started, we had people that just became diabetic, and their doctor put them on meds like metformin. And I said, but you're eating a ton of sugar, carb for breakfast, cereal and pizza and sandwiches for lunch and, bread and grains and pasta for dinner. Let's just cut the carbs down. Your sugar will come down, start to do the exercise, and you can burn that. It may take a longer time, but those people, if they're really early on, we've seen them become non-diabetic. So just the exercise alone is not going to do it because you keep dumping sugar in while you're taking a medication to bring your sugar down. Doesn't make sense.
Then does insulin resistance improve permanently or can it come back?
Insulin resistance, you can change that mechanism once you get the exercise on board, the low carb on board, correct your vitamins, hormones, and stems. So we've seen that. It's just that people get stuck in a little bit of a rut and they're still having too much carb. And some people, you drop the carbs a little bit lower and you kick up the exercise a little bit more. They're almost at that point where they get the result. Drop the carbs lower, increase the exercise, fine tune the hormones if the other doctors haven't seen or looked for that. Then you start to see the picture change. So there are people that are kind of listening. They're kind of close, but they're not really getting the result.
And then we got someone that says that they have high cortisol. Does that make it harder to reverse?
Typically can, but cortisol is a stress hormone, just like DHEA. So cortisol creates a little bit of a difficulty there, but as I described, you're changing this picture in an overwhelming way so that the cortisol changes. If your DHEA is low, we give you DHEA, etc. If we fine-tune each of these areas, which is every part of the picture, the cortisol changes and becomes insignificant.
And then how important is stress management in maintaining healthy blood sugar? I'm always told because I'm so stressed, I'm causing my blood sugar to spike.
Stress management is always important, no matter what problem you have. I think the stress picture is directly linked to what you eat and how you eat. If you're stressed out, you're not going to follow a strict or a rigid diet. You're going to say, the heck with it. I'm just going to have that candy bar, or I'm going to have that pizza because it makes me happy, or they'll have that pasta because it brings back the memories of having pasta when you were a kid. You know, I certainly have those memories as well. But the point is, if you're stressed out, it's harder to do the things that you need to do to get the result done. It's harder to exercise if you're stressed out. It's hard to, drink a lot of water. It's hard to do some of these things. So we certainly want to work on the stress mechanism as well. And for some people, working on stress is correcting DHEA, because adrenal hormone is a stress hormone. And for a lot of people, usually past your 20s, you may be using up so much DHEA faster than you could make it. Your levels are low, and you're constantly in this rut. So if we correct the DHEA or we correct IGF-1, the active component of growth hormone, you start to feel better. Your mood is good. You want to get up and go. You feel good with your exercise because your hormones are there. And we correct testosterone for men and women. And then they feel good. Their muscles feel good. They can't wait to do more activity. And it becomes as if you're turning into a younger person, which hormone-wise you are, which allows you to do the activity you used to love to do.
And why does it seem like almost everyone knows someone with diabetes now, including younger children? Is it really that much more common than it used to be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even just looking at the worldwide 589 million to 853 million increase in 2 years, that's staggering. And between 1.5 to 2 million people in this country every year are diagnosed with it. And there are also some statistics here somewhere about the undiagnosed people, which are way into the millions. So the problem is people are just eating too much junk. It's easier to go to a junk food restaurant or to eat, cereal and candy and foods that are high in carb. They taste good. They make you feel good immediately, but then the crash, afterwards can happen and you want more carb. It's just we're way overloaded in carbs. Look at all the countries who have modest or low carb intake. They do great. They're lean. They're healthy. You see it all over the world. We're the country that has the most and the highest carb intake and the highest junk food intake. Sad but true.
Is this mostly type 2 diabetes increasing, or are we also seeing more cases of type 1?
Same with type 1. Type 1 is not as popular or prevalent. A worldwide 9.5 million type 1, type 2, 844 million type 2. So I don't want to say it's a learned experience, but think of it. You learn what to eat from your parents when you're brought up as a kid, and their parents told them what to eat, and then so on and so forth. And in the last 30 or 40 or 50 years, all this available high carb junky food that people are told to have for breakfast by some commercials on TV, and people are told to go to for lunch or for dinner, and they make it easy for you to buy bad foods with bad chemicals and red dye and everything else in it. We're being inundated and over-advertised to become unhealthy. And the weird thing is that happens and has been happening, and then all of a sudden, the medication realm becomes the thing that you have to do because so many people are unhealthy. It's almost as if it's a coordinated, mechanism.
And this is a follow-up. What's the main difference between type 1 and type 2? Yeah.
Well, type 1 is where you're not making insulin and you need to take meds or insulin to lower your sugar. Type 2 is usually adult onset. It happens over time. Type 1 could be juvenile, where either through an infection your pancreas is damaged and you're not making the insulin. So that's the most significant difference. We've also taken type 1s and brought them down to a very small, tight amount of medication by doing low-carb exercise, correcting vitamins, minerals, hormones, and stem cell. Because your pancreas is still there receiving blood flow, so stem cells will go and get your pancreas to work better.
As a mother, I'm always concerned about type 1 for my children. What are the first warning signs of type 1 that parents should watch out
Sometimes
for?
excessive thirst, excessive urination, sometimes brain fog, getting hyper after eating a meal, and sometimes, just getting exhausted down the road after the meal. It could be a lot of, mild or slightly unusual, presentation. But I think parents should have the kids, and parents should be checked every now and then. Fasting blood sugar, finger stick, you can go out and get a device and do it yourself. And if the numbers are high, then you have to start learning what to do to change the picture.
Do you think medical technology will get to a point where type 1 will be able to be reversed?
I think so, but I don't think that the technology is going to do it. I think stem cells are the thing that'll likely do that. Because if you do stem a few times and you keep putting brand new pancreas cells into the pancreas with an IV with stem cells, and you're really making the pancreas younger because you're creating division of more and more and more cells there, at that point, and they've been saying this for the past few years worldwide, that stem cells reverse some of the type 1s, that you very well might be able to do that. It's the only way that I see that would work, because you're making your pancreas and your organs young. You're making your heart, lungs, liver, kidney, pancreas, brain, where you're putting stem cells, you're making brand new cells, younger tissue.
And the chat's just saying that they were assuming, or this gentleman was assuming that you were just talking about type 1, but you can reverse type 2. You can reverse type 1? Holy cow.
Yeah, I believe it. Literature is describing it, but only with stem cell. So think of it, how to put this into the right scenario to understand. If your sugars are high 3 times a day when you eat a big carb meal, it's not going to really be horrendous for your body because your sugar goes up, it can come down. If you're diabetic and your sugars are high most of the time, that sugar is going to damage your body, damage your blood vessels, your nerves, your organs. People that have very high sugars and they're trying to take meds to bring them down, the higher the sugar, the more damage. The term for the way sugar damages your cells is glycation, Glycation. And these glycation end products create a great deal of damage. They can damage, fats and proteins and hormones and things that are supposed to go all over your body to create, health or a better, healthy response. But sugars create a great deal of damage. Diabetes is the number one cause of blindness in the world, neurologic problems, erectile dysfunction, the list goes on and on and on. Stroke, heart attack, all that. So if we could start looking at this and change the mechanism early and prevent it from becoming a problem, then that's ideal.
Are we talking about the same treatment for both type 1 and type 2, or do stem cells apply differently in each case?
Yeah, stem cells work in both cases to put brand new cells into your pancreas to get your body to have insulin made again. And you can check the insulin production by looking at a C-peptide blood test and by insulin levels. So it's not that we just do stem and let people eat what they want and don't do exercise and whatever. We're looking at the entire picture and we fix every part of the picture. That's why it can work so well.
Someone just said, you got to go national with this. We need commercials. People need to
Absolutely.
know. Listen, if you're in the
LFA.
if you're on the Long Island, if you watch cable on Long Island, I'm sure you're going to see Dr. Chris's
Yep.
beautiful face.
We've got some info out there on News 12, and we're constantly putting information out for people to see. We're going to make a few new videos soon so we could get more information out there. But it takes a little bit of time, but we'll set it up. We'll make it here. Put it on TV.
If someone has had diabetes for decades, are they still a good candidate for stem
Always
cell?
a good candidate, because putting new cells on board will make the organ function better. And it wouldn't just go to one area. It can go to your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidney, your pancreas. We do it nebulizer for lung damage. We do nasal droplet for the brain and for your eyes. So the nasal droplet for MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, stroke, etc. And we've seen great results with that. You can look at the videos on the website, drcalapai.com. So what I was trying to get to before is that if there's a little bit of sugar there sometime, it's no big deal. But if you have more constant sugars and high fluctuations and higher levels throughout the whole day, that's a lot of damage occurring everywhere. So let's say if you have a little bit of carb with each meal, it's a fraction of a teaspoon worth. And if the sugars are high, more so with each meal, it's 2 tablespoons worth of sugar. And then if they're high all day long, you're taking a bucket of sugar and you're letting that sit there and constantly cause damage everywhere. Any chance that we could reverse that and get that bucket down and get new cells and more insulin and exercise to burn all of that, you're taking away that constant damage of that bucket full of sugar, damaging everything. So, big difference between tight sugars and completely out of control sugars. And a lot of people talk about, I'm diabetic, but I'm in control. And I think that they think that that's okay, but every diabetic I've ever seen that's in control will get worse. They end up developing neuropathy in their fingers, their toes. It's as if the medications are holding them in a slightly tighter pattern, but they always get worse. And lifespan is decreased by people that are diabetic. Type 1s have a much shorter lifespan. But even those with type 2, you will develop plaque, you will develop heart disease. You'll have all of these things occur because in control doesn't mean that the disease is not there. When we do this and it works and people are non-diabetic, you're non-diabetic.
A couple comments here. How is this not mainstream yet? This is blowing my mind.
Well, the easy answer to that would be
Drugs? Question mark.
look at how things work. There's a massive lobby to sell product and medications. And everybody knows this over the years, and everybody who has a relative who's, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, they're on tons of meds. It's just meds, meds, meds. If there's something that I could do where we can get people off the meds, that's not going to be mainstream. And who controls a lot of the media, who controls and doctors and hospitals, doesn't take a huge stretch of the imagination to think of how this mechanism works.
Got a big one here. I've been living with type 1 diabetes for over 20 years, multiple shots a day, constant blood sugar checks, always watching what I eat. Lately, I've been hearing about this stem cell treatment where people are getting new insulin-producing cells. Some say they're even off insulin completely. Do you really think that could happen for people like me? Or
Absolutely. So, if you were on the phone, I'd be asking you questions back and forth. What's your diet like? What do you eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks? How much carb do you have? How much alcohol you drink? Because that's also, in many cases, high sugar. How much exercise do you do? If you're not doing exercise every day for a half hour, you're not really burning the sugars that you're taking in. So I would love to bring your carbs down, do a lot of exercise, correct vitamins, minerals, and hormones, something that no doctors probably discuss with you, and look at stem cells to be able to improve all of your organs and certainly get your pancreas to have new cells that can make insulin. So if we can go back and forth a little bit, it'd be cool to chat with you about that. So
I got that number if you would like to call.
yeah, if you'd like to, 888-420-9272. But there are always people who are either, on one end, completely out of whack with their diet. I had a patient come in who's diabetic, and I'm talking with him, and he had a cool little leather bag, must have got it one of these cool leather bag places. It was sort of a rustic-looking bag. It was kind of, and I looked at him and I see this McDonald's wrapper. I'm like, what'd you have for breakfast? Oh, I go out to breakfast every day. I said, yeah, and what did you have? Where did you go? Oh, I had this egg and I said, McMuffin. He looked at me and I said, gotcha. So I play around with patients all the time. I tease them all the time. But, we've got to get at the very basis of this an understanding as to what to get out, because all you're doing is causing problems.
We all want a big McMuffin every day. Let's be. It's tempting.
Yeah, there's a lot of temptation out there in every way. Just have to resist it. Or just have to create a mechanism in your body where that you can see the cake and all the stuff you want to have, and you're like, I don't care, I don't want it. And I feel great. I have energy because I've changed my diet. I've lost some weight. My cholesterol's down. My sugars are down. I can walk or run a few miles. I couldn't do that before. And again, you'll see that with the two videos that we'll be showing you in a little bit. But we want to get you into that zone. And we do that with everybody. It's just what we do.
We just got a comment here about it's incredible watching these commercials for drugs with just a bunch of family members smiling, and none of it makes sense, but that they're giving us poison.
If you were to step away from the, show that you're watching because you like the show and you're watching the show, and whether it's, I loved Yellowstone, great show, great acting, very compelling, and I even like watching Swamp People because I have to try to figure out what these guys are talking about. When they shoot these alligators, they're speaking a language that's a very heavy-duty Cajun New Orleans accent.
I thought you were talking about the Bigfoot docs.
Oh, no, Bigfoot I don't watch. But, you're watching your show and your mind is excited about it. And then this commercial comes on and the sound on the commercial is louder than the show. And I keep having to turn down the commercial volume because you're trying to subconsciously hit you with something that they want you to see. And you see smiley faces and people running in the fields towards each other. It's this beautiful visual. And in the voice that you can barely hear. And yes, this medication may cause your eyeballs to explode, and it may cause blah, 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 blah.
And you might kill yourself.
So it's advertising at its best. They're trying to trap you and capture you and make you think this is something you need. Ask your doctor about this. This is what they do. It's advertising.
I feel like the modern sedentary lifestyle of all these kids just playing video games all day is playing a big role.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
Yeah.
Everybody has talked about that, and I speak to patients about that all the time. When I was a kid, of course, there were no cell phones and stuff, but we were out and about every day after school, and we'd play every sport you possibly could. Stickball, kickball, baseball, football, kill the guy with the ball, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. Any game you could possibly play, we did, and we ran around like idiots until it was time to come in, for dinner. And we sat down, we all had dinner, the whole family was there. This is what every family did. And it was great. There was nothing negative to it. Everybody liked each other. You had friends everywhere. You had different teams that we'd play against, 3 blocks this way, 3 blocks that way. I recently spoke to one of my friends, John, who is a couple of years older, 2 years older than us, but he was the guy who would set up all the teams, and we'd go to, Herman's World of Sporting Goods or whatever it was, and you'd get your hockey gloves and stick, and it was just great. It was a terrific upbringing. And then when we went to play Little League, that was even more exciting because you belonged to this team. And whether your team was good or not, it was still great to go and do these things. But now, there's nothing like that. And things have gone from being, very physical to non-physical at all. And there are some kids, like my friends Tom and Judy, they had 4 kids, and all the kids are really tall, great athletes. And they never had dinner at home because they had to take this child to play this sport, that child the other sport. Father would take these 2. They were just scattered all over the place. And the sports mechanism was good, but, nobody really sat down for dinner except maybe on a Sunday. So it's evolved into a negative space, I think, where kids just don't have any physical.
It's gotten bad.
99% of kids had physical activity back in the day, and now it's probably 99% the other way.
And this right here is a lot of the problem.
Yep.
We got to go back to beepers. And I see our YouTube too. I'm seeing you. Hello to Stork Delivery, Stork Deliver. I know you're a big fan. We see you all the time. Hello.
We appreciate our fans very much. Thank you. Other comments to make, specific to dietary changes. We give people ideas as to what to make, how to prepare things. There are great recipe books out there. I thought of putting out a recipe book and putting together, it's just a lot of work, but there's well over 100 low-carb recipe books out there written by people who are excellent chefs and who can create that extra flavor you might need to want or have. So there's so many good low-carb recipe books. The one that I recommended for years was the Low Carb Bible by Elizabeth Ward, and I think it's been out of print for years now, but it's easy to read, and you could make recipes very easily. But there's so many out there now that you can go and buy and learn how to cook low carb, or learn how to cook, as they say, keto, or even carnivore, if people want to go to that extreme. Vitamins and hormones are critically important, so the blood test gives us guidance on that. So when we check your blood test for vitamins, we're looking to see what you're deficient in. Now, most people take vitamins. If they do, they're just randomly taking stuff because someone told them to take something, or they saw something in a store, or someone told them online what to do, but you're never getting the 2 blood tests. The first blood test to say what you're deficient in, then we recommend nutrients for you. Then I recheck your blood to prove that you're in perfect range. The recommendation now has become so easy because we put it into a pack where in the morning you take a clear pack, open it, and your capsules are there. But I've put that in your program based upon your blood test or your need based upon your medical condition. And the second pack you take around dinner time, you could take with you out to dinner if you want, and other nutrients are therein as well based upon your blood test. So we may add cholesterol vitamins for those people that need that, DHEA. Some people are using nattokinase or cumin quercetin because that, according to Dr. McCullough, has effect against that spike injectable issue. So there's a lot that we can do, but there's no better way to perfect your vitamins than blood test recommendation and then blood test. And we've opened that up to do that for people from anywhere. You could call the office and do a telehealth visit with me. We'll go over everything, send a prescription to get your blood done within a couple of days. Whenever your blood is back, review that, and then put together recommendations for you. So even without having to come to the office, you can get your vitamin levels in a perfect range.
We got this comment. Funny guy in the chat said, "Did you just say Elizabeth Warren wrote a diet book?"
No.
Not quite. Not quite.
I mean, she may have. With her many accomplishments and her background, maybe she's written things that no one has ever seen. I think no one has ever seen some things that she claims to have in her lineage.
It was Elizabeth Ward, I believe.
Elizabeth Ward, W-A-R-D. Yes. So.
And I see in the chat, we got our Robert Moses tick girl in the chat. Okay. And I'll just say, anyone that's watching this and anyone that's dealing with diabetes, send this show to them, and let them know that Dr. Chris he's on Long Island. So if you're in the tri-state area, these people are taking drugs that are, basically causing a lot of other issues. And if they can get off of it and through stem cell be cured, it's just an incredible thing, and we want the word to get out. So if you're in that tri-state area, send this to anyone you know, Dr. Chris, and maybe the website.
We'd love to help you out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A word or two on that. You just brought up another idea. Many people that over time have too much carb in their diet, don't exercise, which is a huge segment of the population, gain weight, blood pressure goes up, cholesterol goes up. They're put on meds to lower the cholesterol. Out of the other meds too, we'll talk about that in a minute. The meds that lower cholesterol, like the statins, wipe out CoQ10 because in the pathway of making cholesterol from your body, you're blocking an enzyme, and that stops all CoQ10 production whatsoever, so you have none. That damages your heart, all your muscles. You can get muscle aches and pains. Your heart contraction can get weaker with its beat because the CoQ10 is being depleted. If you take CoQ10 once or twice a day in a small dose, is that going to even it up? No. We'd rather get you off the cholesterol meds and get you on nutrients that lower cholesterol and do the low carb and the exercise and help your body in 100 ways. There have been blood pressure meds that have been recalled over the years because of bad side effects. There are blood pressure meds like beta blockers that for men may decrease your potency, and you could end up not having good function because the beta blocker is affecting you that way. And you could go online and look at your beta blocker and look at all the potential side effects. So if we can fix the mechanism, bring down your sugars, bring down your cholesterol, bring down your pressure, bring down your weight, then you may not need meds or so many of the meds. So we would like to work, towards that.
We got some Pocahontases in the chat. I was waiting for it.
Oh, yeah. So politics is a never-ending field of, how can I put it? Comedy, entertainment. Unfortunately, just bad entertainment.
Yeah.
And now some of these things are looking back to what politicians said years ago. Even, Clinton and Obama talking about not letting people come in unless they come in through the right way, through channels, blah, blah, blah. It's all over the place. But hopefully things will continue to do better and people will be safer. That's one of the more important goals.
Oh, yes. Should we play one of the clips?
Yeah, let's take a look at Angelo. He's a great patient. Great result.
Well, it all began for me a couple of years ago, and my health really had been deteriorating. I went for a couple of operations. I had some problems. I'm 74 years old, and as I mentioned, it was really deteriorating pretty quickly. Over the past 6 months, it really got worse. Friends of mine, people that I know, saw what I looked like. I had major problems with tearing from the eyes, constantly dripping. I had problems with high blood pressure, with cholesterol, triglycerides, and diabetes. And I really felt terrible. Not only did I feel terrible, I looked terrible. People saw that in me, and I saw it in myself because I have a mirror and I saw what I look like. And quite honestly, I was really almost giving up hope. At 74 years old, I figured my body's just deteriorating, my organs are deteriorating, and that's part of the life cycle. But I didn't want to give up, and I contacted Dr. Calapai because I know he does a lot of unusual things, and really, when you need to go beyond, he's the person to go to. And so I called Dr. Calapai. We made an appointment. He took the blood tests, found out what I was lacking, what needed to be done. But really, in looking at my overall health, felt that a stem cell infusion would probably benefit me tremendously. So I agreed to do it that day. And it was probably the best decision I ever made in my life because 3 months later, as I went back and got retested, my triglycerides were 540, they went down to 140. My cholesterol was 240, it went down to 120. I am no longer a diabetic where my A1C was 7.3, it's now 5.7. I don't have the pains. I have so much more energy. I get up and I've done things around the house that I haven't done in 10 years. When I first had this conversation with Dr. Calapai, he said, you're going to look and you're going to feel like you did 10, 15 years ago. And he was absolutely right. This was absolutely the best decision I made. And it's not something that I heard third hand, the second hand. This is something that I'm living. I lived through it. I've seen it. I feel it. I couldn't go up a flight of stairs without holding onto the banister and trying to gasp for breath. Now I run up the stairs. It's absolutely amazing. I feel like I got a new lease on life. I feel like I'm not 74 anymore. I'm 64 or 60, and everybody around me sees that, including my wife. In fact, one of the benefits is that when I chase my wife, I can catch her now. So it's a positive for me. She may not be too happy about it, but it's a positive for me. I'm off my medications, and that was one of the things that Dr. Calapai said would happen. Actually, I got off them a lot sooner than I thought I would. I really thought this would be a much longer regimen, but I started feeling good 2 weeks after I had the stem cell infusion. I got a lot more energy. Again, as I mentioned earlier, doing things around the house. I couldn't go in the backyard and dig a hole to put a plant in without being out of breath. A few weeks after the stem cell infusion, I planted 25 plants, digging through roots in the hot sun, and I wasn't tired at all. So it's just amazing. I just can't express how much better I feel after having that stem cell. And you know what? The whole thing took an hour and 15 minutes, and an hour of it was to purify the blood. No pain, no downtime. I would recommend this to anybody that has any health issues that is looking to get it resolved.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So, and Andrew's a terrific guy. I've known him for a long time, still keep in touch. Once your body starts to feel good and that light bulb comes on and your body says, hey, I'm going to keep doing the diet, I'm going to keep doing the exercise, I'm going to keep taking the vitamins, I'm going to stay with the hormones, I'm just going to do this, and people do it. And you just get better and stronger and healthier, and you're taking away all that risk. Remember before, we're talking about all that sugar floating around damaging everything. It's not happening anymore. So within about 2 months, we weaned him off his meds. His sugars dropped precipitously, and that sugar's not there every second, every day, causing damage. It would be a different story if we didn't intervene as we did, because that damage would just have gotten worse and worse and create all these other bad cardiovascular neurologic issues. You're taking it away, completely away.
So we got Gloria in the chat on YouTube, said my cholesterol's up around 178. Does it have to be treated with statins? I took another drug before the one for hereditary cholesterol.
I don't use the statins at all. I also have this odd comment about the hereditary issue, and traditional medicine may disagree with this, but in all the years of doing this, I've been a doctor for 39 years. It'll be 40 years within a couple of months. I've never given cholesterol meds, and even people who are told that they're genetic or they make it or whatever the question is, and I tell them, but you were told that without any ultimate substantiation except the fact that your parents or whatever might have had high cholesterol. But if I can adjust your diet, exercise, correct your declining hormones, etc., and get you on vitamins, and we could lower your cholesterol, then it's not a genetic thing like the color of your eyes or how much you look like your mom or your dad. So I think it's always a changeable mechanism. It just depends upon what we have to do to create the result. In many cases, people are doing a little bit of carb restriction, but not enough. In many cases, people are doing a little bit of exercise, but not enough. Lower the carbs a little bit more, do the exercise a little bit more. Oh, the doctor never checked your thyroid. Well, your T3 is low. Let's raise up your T3, etc. And once we fix these things, all of a sudden the cholesterol plummets. So I'm not convinced that because you're told it's a genetic thing that you can't change it. The cholesterol, that is.
And then just to follow up from that, they said, I took another drug before the one for hereditary cholesterol. I stopped it. I found it made me feel so old and tired. Mm-hmm. And then I think this might be a typo. I'm not sure. Thinking was Creator.
Crestor.
Crestor.
Yeah. So again, a lot of side effects. There was an interesting article that came out a few years ago about Crestor, where a doctor wrote sort of a scathing article about it, and that when it was studied, as soon as they saw that it was lowering cholesterol a little bit, they stopped the study. So let's say a study should go on for 5, 7 years, 10 years, whatever, to really see if it works, to see what the side effect profile is, because they come out, more people that are on it, etc. He said, and I have to find this, I have it printed somewhere in my office, because I'll print a cool article and just put it in a folder to keep for later, use. But he said with the Crestor, they stopped the study so quickly, they didn't give it enough time to show side effect. As soon as they saw it was lowering cholesterol, boom, they stopped it and they threw it out there. So that's what I believe happens, and side effects can be significant. So that's why we'd rather not use the meds, just do it naturally and use nutrients and vitamins.
And then also follow up. I'm taking peptides and Cimarlin right now, and my energy is back up.
Good. Peptides are great. They're simple ways to help to improve your body's function and ability. NAD is amazing. We do a lot of NAD, the injectable, because the oral, you're not getting NAD, you're getting a precursor. But the injectable is great. Cimarlin is great, IGF-1. So, yeah, it gets your body to be better metabolically. That's what the peptides typically do. And we recommend them all the time.
And then detox on heavy metals changed the world for me. I thank Dr. Cal for that.
Oh, wonderful. Awesome. Thank you. Heavy metals are all bad, no good, and you got to check your blood and then look at urine and see what's there. Get them out, because all they do is cause damage. There's overwhelming evidence of arsenic as being really bad for your body. People have killed other people because of arsenic poisoning. We've seen movies about that. You've heard about that. And then lead, mercury, nickel, cadmium, aluminum, all this stuff. We know aluminum causes Alzheimer's. Cadmium causes breast cancer. So the literature on the bad nature of heavy metals has been there in massive numbers. The traditional approach doesn't look at it, doesn't think of it. And people end up with a lot of problems when the metals damage your eyes, your brain, your heart, your organs. So you have to look for them and get them out, get rid of them.
And I'll just say, myself, I will be making an appointment with Dr. Calapai sometime in the next couple weeks. I'm getting a full blood panel.
There you go.
We're going to find out. I'm going to give it all. No secrets from me, all right? I'm going to walk you through it all.
There you go. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
I'll tell you a funny story about a gentleman who came in. This is one cool story. A gentleman was a professor, and his side hobby was singing in a choir and in a band, etc. But as he got older, I guess he was in his 70s, after he would talk for a while or sing for a while, his mouth and tongue would get very heavy and he couldn't really speak well. And it was sort of like he was trying to pronounce, but, he just couldn't do it. So he came in to see me, and I said, wow, that's, odd to say the least. If he woke up one morning, he would do fine, but if he started talking or singing too much, then this would happen. So he tested him, and he had some huge exposure to metals, lead and mercury and aluminum, I think. And I said, well, these are all bad, so we've got to get rid of them. Let's do the treatment with the calcium EDTA chelation once a week to start pulling these things out. And he got on vitamins and was doing well, doing some exercise, diet. And over the course of a couple of weeks, he said, that it's not really happening as much anymore. I said, well, that's pretty good. I said, we have to figure out why it's not happening as much. I said, stop your vitamins for a week and see if it comes back. And it didn't. So I'm like, well, it's probably not related to taking the vitamins. And then over the course of 10 weeks, we did the IV chelation with the urine afterwards to see what came out, because that's the biggest picture of what you're storing. After 10 treatments, we repeated the urine and we compared them. A lot of the metals had dropped down dramatically. And I said, well, probably likely that you have some sort of heavy metal exposure that's damaging transiently the neuromuscular junction where your muscles are told what to do by your nerves. And I said, have you seen a neurologist before? And he hadn't. I said, well, see a neurologist, tell him what's happened, and see if he could explain this. And the neurologist called and said, I really think that the heavy metals are causing this issue. And he says, it really seems and looks like a transient neurologic phenomenon that may have been caused by the metals. And I said, okay. And we decided to stop the IV, the chelating treatment, for a few weeks just to be curious. And then it seemed to happen a little bit more, not as bad as it was initially. And the neurologist said, it's almost like myasthenia gravis. I said, really? Because myasthenia gravis, some people have a droopy eye, and then that develops over time, and you have to take medication for it to come back. And I was looking that up. I'm like, well, what if the metals are causing that? And if it's like myasthenia, but it's a pseudomyasthenia because the metals are damaging the electrical flow through the neuromuscular junction, etc. We got him back on the treatment, and then everything was gone. And then it came to a point where he never had it. He hadn't had it over 6 months. And the neurologist and I were constantly talking back and forth about it. So he was amazed. He ended up sending me a lot of patients because we stumbled upon something that worked really well, and it seems to work for other patients with the myasthenia. So it shouldn't be that odd to think that things from the outside could come in and damage your body, whether transiently or permanently. Look, cadmium is linked with breast cancer. That's literature that's been there for a long time. So if you've got a lot of cadmium on board, that's horrible. Aluminum is absolutely linked with dementia and Alzheimer's. So a lot of that on board, you want to get rid of it. So this is just something that makes sense to me for test for the overwhelming majority of people, and just get that stuff out of your body. There's no benefit to it there.
I just got a comment. It's starting to make sense why they're spraying us with metals every day. Oh, getting your tinfoil hat on. We like it. We like it.
It's exposure to chemicals and heavy metals has been massive over the past probably 30 or 40 years, maybe a little bit longer. But it's all bad. You got to look for it and get it out of your system. It's important. And the urine test is the most accurate because it looks at 21 metals, and after an IV, you're pulling those things out to see what's being stored.
All right, up to date there. We have another patient testimonial, if you like.
Yes, Andrew. Let's take a look at him quickly. We'll look at his case.
Hi, my name is Andy. I am a patient of Dr. Calapai. And when I had come to Dr. Calapai in June of 2016, my weight was 277 pounds, my blood sugar reading was 167, and my A1C was 7.2. I had heard of Dr. Calapai on his radio show, his whole nutritional approach, and his stem cell therapy, which he's conducting clinical trials for. But what really interested me was the whole approach. I didn't know that I was diabetic at the time. But when presented with these facts, Dr. Calapai offered me the option of doing stem cell therapy in addition to doing the eliminating carbs, lowering the weight, walking 30 minutes a day, building up lean muscle tissue, raising your vitamin and hormone levels. And now, thanks to the stem cell therapy and Dr. Calapai's whole approach, I am non-diabetic and on the road to recovery. I've lost 52 pounds. My A1C is now reading about 5.9, and my blood sugar is averaging between 80 and 90. I'm feeling much better. I'm feeling more energetic. I don't feel literally like a weight is on my shoulders. After taking off 52 pounds, it's you can move around better. Now, I had been doing something prior to this on my own, but it's hard to sort of judge yourself and look at yourself. So I needed that third eye. And like I say, I had heard Dr. Calapai on his radio show, and I thought that would be that's kind of in line with my thinking. And he doesn't use any medications. He tries to bring your body mechanisms up to optimal levels, and so that your body, using your own body functions, you can pretty much operate optimally. I would just recommend Dr. Calapai's approach to anybody who'd be interested. At least come in and take the comprehensive blood test.
Yeah, another terrific result. I think he was 2 months into it, and big difference. But it's just goes to show you're understanding the mechanism and you're fixing it. Much like if you had a car that was an antique car or an old car, you don't just run it and see what happens. You take it and you look at the spark plugs. If you need to change them, you change them. You change the oil. New engines now, you have no idea what's going on under the hood. But when cars you were able to work on them, you could really see and clearly understand this or that needed to be fixed or changed. And you do that, then the car runs beautifully. So it's looking at a list of things that need to be fixed and just doing it directly. That's what we do.
Just got a comment from before with the metals. I love this. I love whatever your name is, Stork Delivery, you're great. It says graphene oxide particles in the chemtrails. My tinfoil hat is now a crown of knowledge. So good.
That's great. Terrific. Someone was saying that, look at the sky. There's no more streaks in the sky. So because the government shut down, there's no more chemtrails. I said,
I saw a few of those.
That's interesting.
It was a clear sky for quite a few weeks.
Be very interesting to see what happens going forward. I think there's a lot of good things that are going to happen. I'm very hopeful for that. And thanking all the people that are putting all these good things in place. But about this scandal with the sports betting, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody because people that are a little older would know that back in the 1900s, gambling was occurring and Shoeless Joe Jackson was on the Sox or something and they got caught up in that. But that's 100, some odd years ago, right?
Yeah. My only comment on that is, listen, that's fine. Go after the NBA. But, hey, we have this guy. His name's Ohtani. And it seemed like a shut and close case very quickly. So go for the MLB, too. Maybe. Am I a hater? Probably.
And then you see on some of these shows, like Michael Franzese, whose dad was a very famous mob guy, that even back in the 90s, all of this was occurring with ball players that would throw a game or do this or do that or get ejected from a game on purpose to affect the scores, the outcome, and the betting. This is something that's probably been going on in every sport for forever. Sad to hear, but if this is the reality of it, then it's got to be changed. And I know a lot of people who refuse to watch football, especially the Chiefs, because they've seen more than a few incidents of the Chiefs never getting any penalties, the other teams getting all these crazy penalties. So
the NFL doesn't even try to hide it.
Yeah, if you're going to watch it, look for those things. That's the entertaining part of it. Look for the things where you think that the refs are changing the outcome of the game.
Yeah, and just notice how often a player will drop the ball right before getting into the end zone.
Right.
They thought they were in the end zone. They dropped it right. Yeah. Okay.
Last year, I remember watching a game, and the quarterback of the Chiefs, who will remain nameless, everybody knows who it is, had the ball, fake pump, then there's an opening in the line, he runs, and there's a guy 5 feet from him, right in front of him, and that guy goes to hit the offensive lineman. I'm like, he's right in front of you. Why didn't you tackle the quarterback? And he got 15 yards. I'm like, why didn't that guy tackle him and stop the gain of yards? I said, that's insane. It's one of many episodes and I saw it. I was watching the game. I just couldn't understand it. And they did a quick replay on it, but I don't know.
Yeah. And Sue K in the chat just said, I just saw that Michael France's podcast this morning.
Yeah. So back in the day, and I've told the story before, right, about when I worked at Clappers. I used to work at a clothing store in Roosevelt Field when I was 18, 19, and I worked part-time at Vincent's Clam Bar. I was just a workaholic, and I worked and made really good money. And then I became friendly with a guy, Andy, whose dad knew all these other people, including Michael's father, Sonny. And then, you go out to nightclubs and things and lounges, and all these people are there. And I ended up meeting Michael's father, Sonny. And they liked me because I was getting into medical school, and he wanted his sons and daughter at the time to have a friend that was in a different occupation or world. And anyway, I had no idea what these people were doing. You're 18 years old. I just wanted to play sports and whatever. So they ended up when I worked at Clappers, they would come in and ask for me, and the office manager, the manager of the store, would be like, "Oh, is everything okay?" Because the guys that were coming in, including Michael's father, Sonny, were a little bit scary looking, and everybody knew they were. I didn't. I thought they were in construction. And, being friendly with Andy and Andy being friendly with their family, we'd go out to dinner, and I would go somewhere and you'd meet up with Michael and the other son, John, and have dinner, and you never paid for dinner. And, we went out to gatherings and nightclubs, and everybody would get out of our way. I didn't, I had no idea what it was all about. Then at one point, the general manager, Ralph, from the clothing store, was working, and they came in and they asked for me, and Ralph said, "Is everything okay?" And they said, "Yeah, he's our friend." And I would sell tons of clothing to these guys. These guys wore suits that back then were $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 suits. This is in the late 80s, 90s. And, I was making great commission on this, making more than almost anybody there. But, and Ralph said, "Come on, I'll take you to lunch." And he said, "How do you know these guys?" I'm like, "They're in construction. They're really nice. We go out to dinner." Long story short, he told me what, the father did. And I'm like, "He's a button man." I'm like, "A button man? He makes buttons on shirts?" He goes, No. He's a hitman. I'm like, "A hitman? What are you talking about?" Again, I'm 18. I grew up in a regular sort of upbringing, had no idea. And then he told me exactly what he did. I'm like, "Oh my God, my parents are going to kill me if they find out." So, of course, I got into medical school, and they went their way, I went mine. But, the things that Michael says are some of the things that I had either heard or seen, just being around. But it was very, very interesting. So all this stuff goes on behind the scenes that you'd never know about. And, some of that's going to come through now.
Someone said, so your boss was really nice to you after that one, right?
Oh, my God, they loved me. They loved me because if I sold $30,000 every Sunday to these guys and their friends that they would bring in, that was more than the whole store would make. And I was just like, "Oh, yeah, it's great construction." I got great commission. I was working 3 or 4 days a week in the store, while I went to college during the day. And I was making great money. I mean, no kid made that kind of money back then. I was dressed impeccably.
It's like the Colodrol effect from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Everyone's so nice. Why is everyone so
it was a nice time, and it was a fun time, and I never saw or did anything that was beyond my scope of just being a nice person. And you didn't really hear or see anything bad. But then down the road, you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's who that is?" It's like, wow. It's crazy where life brings you one way or the other. I've met a lot of interesting people in my life, that's for sure. A lot of people that are actors, actresses. When I had my office in the city. Interesting. Some people that are awesome. Some people that are, I went to my publicist, Corey Hay, who's a phenomenal publicist in the city. And when my practice was big in both East Meadow and Manhattan, you couldn't get into the office for sooner than 3 or 4 months because we had a waiting list, and the radio show was killing it. I remember going to like every cool fashion show because that's what you did. And he would get me tickets, and, he'd meet different people, meet all the models because these were old, they're gorgeous, even dated some of them. But I remember going to one show, and I sat in the front row with an older man, very nice, and talking with him. And then he went up to go somewhere, and he asked Corey, "Who was that guy? Is this nice old guy?" He goes, "Yeah, that's Hearst." I'm like, "Huh?" He goes, "Yeah, that's, Randolph Hearst's son or somebody." I'm like, "Oh, wow, that Hearst." So, yeah, I just randomly met people at these things, and you'd never know. And I went up to walk around to go to a little area to get something to drink, and I'm standing up against this little bar area, and someone bumps into me. I turn around, like, "Hey, sorry." It was JFK Jr.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, "Wow, look at this guy." He was tall, probably the best-looking guy I've ever seen. And people say that. He was the best-looking guy I've ever seen. Spoke with him for a few minutes. I was like, wow, nice guy, good handshake. That was really cool. I wish I would have had a picture. And then in the same venue, Chaz Palminteri and De Niro were there, and Palminteri was very nice, good handshake. The other guy shorter. Dead fish handshake. I didn't like that too much. But it was weird. I mean, everywhere you go, you meet people. I met Chris Farley. I met Jack Lemmon. I met Lauren Bacall. She was not terribly nice that evening, but it was fun to be in the city. I mean, I went everywhere. I went to every gallery opening. Went to everything you could go to, movie premieres. It was fun. I mean, That's No City was just vibrant and amazing, and there was no worries anywhere, anytime, anyhow, and there was just so much going on.
Chat says John was gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm telling you, as good as that guy looked in pictures or in photos or videos, you have no idea. Standing next to him.
Stud.
Like, wow. Now I know everybody goes crazy over him. And I've met other really good-looking people, too. I've met people that, who are models and actors and actresses, but this guy was just beyond good-looking. Yeah. Have a lot of good memories. I went to the Rainforest concert, the first one with Pavarotti, Whitney Houston, Sting.
Oh, wow.
Similarly, my publicist got this whole set up for me. I rented a limo. In the limo, we invited Bon Jovi and his wife, Dorothea, and Tico and Eva Herzegovina. That was his girlfriend at the time. Big, great thing. Now I think I'm just like living large. The publicist for a date, got this Italian Armani or Versace model to go with me as my date. And of course, here I am. I'm like, my God, I got this girl for my date. Of course, it would never happen any other way in life. But when we get to the theater and we're the last people to walk to get into our seats, we're in like the second or the third row. And she was wearing these big heels, and she was taller than I, wearing this spectacular crepe, very gorgeous, slinky dress. And we're walking down to get to our seats, and her heels are like clip-clopping. The entire place turns around, looks at her, is like, then looked at me like, huh? And I was leaner back then and maybe a little bit better looking, but they were like, who's that guy that has that girl, his girlfriend, and with his group? And then we get to the Waldorf, and there's this big auction to raise money for the whole thing, and it was really nice. And I had a couple of drinks and champagne, and I'm talking with her, and James Taylor's to my left, within arm's reach. To the right side, Elton John. All these people are right around the tables because we all had these tables next to each other. I'm like, this is awesome. I've got and gone to music and celebrity heaven with so many really nice people. And talking with them. And I start to bid on a car. And I didn't want the car or need the car. And it was this beautiful, brand new, jacked up Range Rover, the big one. I'm like bidding. I'm like, yeah, I'll bid. And then I realize I'm bidding against, who's the owner of Revlon? Perlman or somebody? Yeah. I'm like, what am I doing? This guy's got gazillions of dollars. What if he stops, bidding? I can't afford this car. So, of course, I backed the bid down. I stopped bidding and, he won it. But it was kind of fun, The city was just, like I say, a vibrant place. And anywhere you went, you met nice people and you hung out, and it was great. I miss all that.
Well, now it's about to turn into a war zone with Mundani.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope that people are intelligent enough to know what's happening and who's behind it, and that the people that live and work and have businesses in the city, no matter what your background is, no matter what your political affiliation is, do the thing to make the city safe, do the thing to make the city vibrant again. Do not let someone who's got no experience and who's looking out to create havoc, don't let him do that. That's my political comment for the month. For people who used to go in the city for dinner and everything else, it was exquisite. I love the city for my whole life. And now I don't go in. I have a friend of mine who has the Citizen app, and they know exactly where the crime's occurring. She says there's crime everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's showing up on the Citizen app. It tells you don't go here, don't go there. Scary. Alrighty, so 180,000 views last week on Rumble LFA on our Saturday show. We'd love to be able to see that we break 200,000 this week. So if you're inclined, tell your family and friends. Have them take a look at the program. We're on 2:30 tomorrow.
LFA TV
LFA
on Rumble.
on Rumble. And give us a call at the office. We'd love to chat with you, help you out in any way we can. 516-794-0404. Website, drcalapai.com.